Well, hello again, YouTube. Back with another video, and I don't normally do unboxing videos. I think I've done a few when I had the KTM and, I don't know, maybe a couple with Kawasaki. Anyway, a little unboxing video here about the TT project. So a couple weeks ago when I got the bike sort of finished, to the state I had it finished, ran up the bike, took it for a little spin around the block. I noticed that the rear brake caliper was weeping some brake fluid, and it's a proper Brembo brake caliper, but I think over time, obviously there was a nick in one of the seals or something like that, and I do recall splitting the caliper, rebuilding it, cleaning it, pulling the pistons out, cleaning on the inside, pressing them back in, using my Red River grease. But yeah, that happens, and again, it's a 25-year-old part, and over time it is going to fail. And it's not like I use the rear brake at all, but obviously it needs to be attached to the bike and functioning and not leaking brake fluid on a rear wheel, because we know what brake fluid does to paint. So anyway, with this fail, I immediately started looking online for replacement parts to rebuild it. And again, a brake caliper is not difficult to rebuild, but when I was pricing out proper, which is all I could find, I couldn't find any pattern or aftermarket Brembo specific caliper rebuild kits. The ones I found, again, were out of Florida, 45, 50 bucks Canadian, $30 shipping, 3 weeks to get here. So anyway, what I did is I knew it was a 84 millimeter spacing in the caliper, so I thought I'd take a little bit of a punt, as my British friends would say, and see if I could find, maybe there was an Aprilia one or a BMW one, Brembo or otherwise. Maybe some guy in the UK has a Hell rear brake caliper and that fitting that was removed from a project, and they can get it for a great deal. Nothing, but the good old Mr. Google took me to AliExpress, which we all know is Chinese, which of course has people a bit nervous, especially when it comes to critical components like brakes. But I found a little interesting looking rear brake caliper, claimed to be 84 millimeter fitment, billet aluminum, certainly looked nice, for $24 Canadian plus $8 shipping, and some promises about quick shipment time. And so I thought, well, what the heck, it's half the price of just the caliper seal. What's the worst that can happen? Well, bad things can happen when you buy brake caliper parts from China, but I thought I'd take a bit of a risk and give it a try. And so here's what showed up from China in a very short order. Again, once the order got, I guess, processed or registered, China to Vancouver overnight, and Vancouver to Brandon in 4 days. So there you go. That's how it works in Canada. So anyway, here's it. As you can see, I have peaked. So this won't be this will be like a reality show reaction where we've gone through it 3 or 4 times, then I'm supposed to fake being surprised and excited. But prepare to be surprised and excited. So here it is. This is my RPM Racing rear brake caliper. Even comes with a banjo bolt, and this was a coarse thread. And as I was gathering parts for this, knowing that we had some things inbound, I did pull out a I think that's coarse thread, or is that fine? That's fine thread. That's actually from the original Brembo, I believe. Anyway, I'll drill that for safety warning, but I assumed that something coming from China was going to be a coarse thread. Besides, Brembo fine thread 10 millimeter brake caliper bolts are less common. So it certainly looks nice. That's a machined surface there. I'm not sure what the brake pads are made out of, probably cheese. It might be interesting finding replacement ones. But when you look at the design, That's an interesting spring design, keeping the pads centered. Um, but you know, proper safety clip, and even this little hook back here, like I've seen them that don't have that extra little bit of safety catch here. Little bleed hose there. I'm making some broad assumptions about things like thread, like are they going to be rolled threads or cut threads? I could see that maybe potentially being suspect, and I've done this on Brembos and Nissans as well. Is when I take that out, I will put some pipe dope on it before I thread it in to bleed it. But you know, this is a very nice looking brake caliper. I bet you this is, I know this will be 6mm bolts holding it together, so maybe a bit undersized on that. But again, it's a rear brake caliper. I'm not going to be using it as my main source of braking on a track bike or a street bike. So the moment of truth is it going to actually fit on the caliper hanger? So let's head over and take a look. And yes, I've got some new tires to lever on too, which I might give you a little update on that later on. And the other bonus here too is that the cable end, brake cable end on this Venhill caliper is the correct orientation. So I'll show that later. And there was one, I think, North American or maybe European buyer of this that showed some pictures of him putting this on a BMW S1000R. So again, this is a homemade bike that I built in my garage. I'm not sure I'd maybe put this on a BMW S1000R, but if it fits, it fits. So here we go. Slide over the rotor. Well, holy crap. Isn't that something? Okay, I'm going to set you down here for a second. Not sure if you can see anything. Well, that lines up properly. So then this will go to here like so. How does it spin? It's not foul. It's the right diameter. It's not fouling on the rotor at all. Okay, well that's a pretty amazing start. That it fits as it should. Where's the bleeder? In a bit of a tricky spot on the inside, but as we know, when it comes to bleeding these style of calipers, I'll probably take it off and just bleed it on a spare rotor just to make sure that the high point in the system is that bleed nipple there. So, well, that is a good first indication. And it's kind of cool looking, actually. Yeah, there's no witness marks on the caliper itself, so it is clearing the rotor properly. So in typical Chinese fashion, I'm thinking that's probably a rip-off of PVM, which is a boutique caliper company out of Europe. I think Ryan Farquhar uses them on his Super Twins. Okay, so step one, it actually fits as it should. So step two, I might pressurize it a bit and check to make sure that the caliper seals are moving. So, okay, stage one, stay tuned. So my worry is that when this thing was assembled, it might have been put together dry with little to no lubrication on the piston itself or the seal. It's quite a small piston. which again, it's fine. It's a rear brake caliper. It's not like I'm needing to stop the bike solely with this. So you can see, I'm not sure how well in focus it is, but you can see that there is some grease on the piston itself. I just blew a little bit of air in there and popped it out. And obviously what's going to happen is that this piston is going to move, and you can see this one's moved just slightly. So as this piston moves and it I guess seats on the rotor, the fluid will flow and push out from this end too. So because I'm a bit when it comes to mental health, I'm trying to, you can't just throw around self-diagnosis of mental health conditions anymore. But my attention to detail, I'm going to take a little bit of my red rubber grease and put it on the piston there, making sure that that it's well lubricated, although I can see some on there already, which is a positive thing. If that went in there dry and shipped on a plane or sat in a stock and somewhere in China for months, that could dry out. But yeah, it looks like there's some lubrication there, so that's positive. So this is the bleeder valve from the caliper. Coarse thread, which again makes sense, right? You wouldn't put a fine thread in when everything else is coarse thread. And again, for replacement purposes, coarse thread ones are a bit more common. Was in there a bit distressingly tight, but not too tight, and a good old 8mm to remove it. So as I said, I'm just going to put a little bit of pipe thread on there, pipe dope, just to help seal it. Every once in a while, again with these coarse thread ones, or based on the machining quality of the machining, you could sometimes get a little bit of brake fluid sweat past the threads. So I'll let it get a bit tacky, and then I'll thread it back into the caliper. Of course, you don't want anything on the sealing surface there or plugging up the hole. And you can see, even though this has been anodized black, there's some, I guess at a mating surface, you can see that some of that anodizing has worn off right at the taper there, which I don't know if that signifies anything significant, but you know, it's either over tightened or it's not, you know, perfect tolerances. That it just has that seamless mating. Probably an area that shouldn't be anodized anyway. But yeah, I'll let this get a bit tacky and then thread it back into the caliper, and then the next step is to actually bleed it. Well, I gotta admit, that looks pretty cool in terms of looks, and how brake calipers look aren't really that important, but anyway, I've got it mounted. The nice thing is it's got actually less drag than the Brembo caliper. Like, the pads aren't contacting whatsoever. And then, I'm not sure how well you can see it. I think I'll do that. And again, it's a rear brake, so it's all it needs to do is slightly retard the rotation of the rear wheel, but it seems to work well. No leaks anywhere, so it seems to be watertight or brake fluid tight. So I'll safety wire that on there. It's taking quite a while to bleed it properly. I made the mistake of drawing brake fluid through the system, but then not topping this up, and of course, you know, you drip brake fluid everywhere, and it's a filthy, I hate brake fluid, but it does what it needs to do. Anyway, it's going to take a while to bleed this properly, because really this is the high point of the system, and it should be drawing out of somewhere here, but as you can see, that fouls there, or it doesn't foul, but that would be a problem for a brake bleeder up top. But anyway, I think I'll just keep pumping this throughout the day as I continue to do some work on the bike, and change the tires are the next step. So anyway, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest, because again, cheaper than a Brembo brake caliper rebuild kit, and it fits. It seems to work properly. The brake pad material might be made out of cheese, I don't know, but yeah, for a rear brake caliper, it does what it needs to do. And plus, I didn't have to worry about changing the fitting here on the Venhill line. It orients itself in a similar way to the Brembo. So I'm going to pause it here, and then I'll go about swapping out safety wiring that caliper, and then swapping out some tires. So swapping tires isn't that exciting, but I may give you a little update on that, and that'll be some more work on the TT done. So here's the end result of that rear brake caliper, the RPM rear brake caliper being put on the bike, safety wired. Seems to be okay. Still not perfectly bled, but certainly suitable enough. There is a stop in the pedal travel when the pads connect. And so the other thing I like too is just the movement of the caliper is such that the pads do retract quite a bit, and there's like no rotor drag. And then when you give it a good spin, you know, again, a bit too much travel than it should be, but I'll keep bleeding it between now and the first track day to get it ready to go, and always, you know, checking for leaks. You know, you can see that there's nothing seeping there, nothing seeping between the bleed nipple, so that's all positive stuff. So yeah, so far so good on that. Like I said, check out, if you're interested in getting one yourself, Alex Express 84 millimeter brake caliper is all I punched in, and that's what I ended up getting. So for the cost, it certainly seemed pretty reasonable. The other thing I did today too is lever on some new tires, Metzler Racetech RRK3. I got a 160 in the back and 120 in the front, both K3 compound. I think Metzler's owned by Pirelli now anyway, and even though this is a 5.5-inch rear wheel, it's pretty tricky in terms of finding the right tire width. The Michelin Power Cup 2 180 fit on the tire okay, didn't foul on the chain. I put on the Dunlop Q4, that not that one obviously, but the one that came off the KTM Duke last year, and I stored inside to keep it from cracking. That's also a 180, and it fouled on the chain. So again, a bike like this does not need a 180 rear tire anyway, so we'll leave it with the 160. I'll have to look up tire pressures. I don't know what these are supposed to run. Probably the same as Pirelli's, but you never know. And I know, you know, where did they get the tire from, and the comment about online tire vendors. And yeah, I got these from Fort 9 again, same as the Q4s. You're always worried that you're getting old stock when it's from a tire international, not international, but online tire retailer like Fort 9, and the rear is a late 2023 build date, like 48th week of 2023, so essentially new. The front is like 1722, so about 2 years old, but again, stored inside. And I am not good enough to say, you know, this is a new Metzler. This is a Metzler who's sat on the shelf for a couple of years. So I think we're pretty much ready to go. So at the risk of jinxing myself, the plan is we do have a track day coming up in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks I think. And so the hope is to take this out to the track and test it. Whether or not I bring this along, I'm going to kind of make sort of as a last minute decision. It's wired up, ready to go for the track. If a part comes in and the part does what this part is supposed to do, I may actually leave the 848 at home. So as it is right now, it's set up to go out on track. If the part does come in and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, then I may take this out to the track. It's complicated. I may post a video and explain it all a little later, but as you can see, I have taken this for a quick, both bikes for a quick run around the lock, and they both seem to be working properly. With this though, I have no idea where I am in terms of jetting. Seems okay, you know, it idles okay. So I think I've got the basics there, but I might actually take this out on track day novice, which for someone who's been out to the track for 30 years is a bit embarrassing. But for another reason, then you know, this could be a 55 to 60 horsepower bike that I'm trying to figure out the handling, and so probably not a good idea to go out in track day advanced, simply because there's obviously some fast guys there, and then racer open practice, same thing. The sad thing is that my local track, the whole idea of a ultra lightweight or a Canadian Thunder class, it's gone. There's no one else riding small bikes currently. So you know, if I get really fast on this bike, I might be doing, you know, 108s, 109s, which, okay, fine, whatever, but the fast guys are almost 10 seconds a lap quicker, and sharing the track with a S1000RR, it's probably not good for him and not good for me either. So we'll have to see, and I think from what I understand, that's what a lot of track day providers in the UK are doing, is they're not splitting up the track day necessarily by skill, but it's by bike size. You can have a Valentino Rossi on a KTM 390, a local squid on a S1000R is going to go faster than him around your typical track, or at least on the straights anyway. So anyway, we'll see. There's always a risk on taking this out. It's a 3-hour drive one way. It's a financial commitment to sign up for track day, and you know, harkening back to my first years of going out to the track with an old RD 350, you can drive all that way and have the bike fail or not operate the way it should right off the bat. But I think I've got, you know, my experience is such that I've got a good feeling about this. I've got a better feeling that this should at least run as it should, and try it out and break it in. So that's the plan. I don't know if there will be another update between now and then. Maybe on the 848 if parts come in the way they should. But with everything, I've already got some the next step in terms of some performance or some engine work planned for this thing already. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. A bit of a longer one, but broken out in various components. But I guess the verdict, and depending on you know what I title this YouTube page, is that depending on your circumstance, depending on your situation, if you're building a bike that happens to have, you know, a caliper bracket like that for, you know, $30 Canadian, $26.99 Canadian, and $7 or $8 to ship, it seems to be pretty good. It works the way it should. So anyway, I'll be monitoring it, and who knows, with a lot of these Chinese things, what I've found in the past is that they, you know, start out okay, and then you have some sort of component failure of some sort. And like I said, on the rear brake, at least the worst that can do is that I, you know, coat the rear tire in brake fluid, and I've got no rear brake. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Anyway, thanks for watching, and the next update might be trackside. Check back soon.